now for all you've done to your bodies. It's still real to me, damn it. I mean,
gives Jeremy a pop every time.
It pops me every time. I love it.
We're here.
Oh no!
Wow, he had the shortest presentation in history.
Wow, Howie did the House of Black here. The House of Black.
That was the shortest intro in the history of the world.
There we go. Got the 2 stars of the show. It's still real to me. This week we're going to be talking about their 3 fantasy.
Which I'm going to protest now was way too little.
Anyway, let's get people introduced real quick. We got the man that makes it all possible, QB1, Randy Cunningham. Randy, how's your week going so far?
Well, I'm having some little medical stuff going on, so it's been a tough week. I actually missed half of work today just because just different stuff. You know, it's tough when you get into your late 50s, early 60s, and I was sitting in the elevator, and I wanted to share this with everybody. When she said it, I thought that's perfect. So I've got an AEW shirt on, and I'm in the ready, and I'm going up with a lady, and I'm complaining. I'm like, oh, you know, I hate getting older, and she's probably in her early 70s. I said it's tough getting older, and you know, da 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 da, and she looks at me, and she's like, looks at my shirt and goes, honey, I ain't been all elite in 30 years. So,
there you go.
Shout out.
That's man. That wit's still sharp, though. That was all elite wit right there.
I ain't been all elite in 30 years.
The other man, part of her show, the other star, Double J, Jeremy Johnson. Jeremy, how's it going?
It's good. Weeks went by quickly this week. I don't know why. It just feels like it's went by quick. No time on the road this week, so that's been a plus actually to get some rest. But yeah, it went by quick. Here we are staring Friday right in the eye.
Super Bowl week, boys. Before we
get boy.
Everybody got a pick.
Let's go ahead and get that out of the way real quick. Jeremy, who you got?
It's the Chiefs. I hope not. I'll be honest with you, but I don't know what it is. You just can't. And Mahomes just don't want to get beat. So I hope the 49ers win.
Hey, I'm gonna go 49ers, and here's why, Jeremy. You said it. Mahomes is normally the best player on the football field. I don't know that he is Sunday. I know it's devalued in the world of football now. I know it doesn't mean much in the world always talks about quarterbacks and receivers.
Yeah.
But over the last decade, no one has been better than Christian McCaffrey. And I think this is his one moment to shine. If he's ever going to put the Niners on his back and win a big game, it's it. Brock Purdy does just enough. Just enough. He's not a superstar, but McCaffrey, MVP of the Super Bowl, and the Giants win a squeaker. Lower scoring than we think.
The Giants win. Wow.
Under the total is my bet of the week.
Well, look, let's go get into a little analysis right here. So this is five like football. I believe the team that's going to run the football, and you mentioned Christian McCaffrey. I believe the team that's going to run the football the most successfully and have the least mistakes is going to be the team that wins.
Hey, football will tell you, don't turn the football over and run the football, and you're going to win 90% of the time.
Yeah.
Secrets of football, even the teams that run the air raid like Tennessee or Tyler Van when he's at Sylvania, now at Scottsboro. Those offenses are
Run heavy.
They run the ball first. So
Well,
I like McCaffrey in this game now. But
yeah,
I
do.
How about you, Chaney?
Oh, I'm just in it for the commercials myself.
We've got
The Falcons are not winning. We know that. We know one thing for sure. The Falcons are not winning the Super Bowl this year. maybe later.
If the team that I really want to win would be the Chiefs, but I really feel like the 49ers will win.
Yeah.
Like they're a more complete team, especially on the offensive side.
Yeah.
They got more weapons. And it's very hard to stop all of that stuff between, y'all mentioned CMC running the ball. You got Kittle at tight end.
Debo.
Yeah, then you got Debo split out along with the other guy. I can't remember who he is.
Ayuk.
Weapons on the Chiefs, boy.
Yeah.
Ayuk, Samuel, McCaffrey, Kittle. I think the Chiefs' path to winning is Travis Kelce to just go insanely off and have one of those 10 catches, 100-yard games and 2 touchdowns like he did in the AFC Championship game.
Well, I hope both of you are right because I am not a Chiefs. I detest the Chiefs. Everything about them.
I still have Patriots, so I can't get past that.
All right, so I detest them. I don't want to see Taylor Swift. I want to watch football. If I'm watching the Grammys, I don't want to see Travis Kelce. Unfortunately, we did. I don't hate Taylor Swift. When I'm watching football, I don't care about Taylor Swift. That's all I'm gonna say.
What's the stand of? Hey, I mean, you get your one shot. You always get the one shot of. Hey, by the way, this year's swimsuit model of the year, Brittany Mahomes. If you ain't sleek, better put together than I thought.
Yeah. Here's what I want. Here's what I want to see. I want to see the 49ers win. I love Brock Purdy, and they're bashing this kid, and he has done nothing but win and make plays.
Yep.
And he's done what he needs to do at quarterback. I want to see the 49ers win first, even though I picked against them. Secondly, I want them to cut up there intending to show us Taylor Swift, and I want to see Jason Kelce shirtless chugging a beer again. That's what I want to see.
Okay.
That was the best thing ever. They wanted to get Taylor Swift in the shot, and Brittany Mahomes and that little crew, and Jason Kelce is up there having the time of his life.
Hey, is Jason Kelce the biggest star in the NFL right now?
I don't know about that. He's pretty dang popular, though.
I know. Biggest podcast in America. Anyway, Howie, didn't mean to hijack. Back to you.
No, it's all good. One quick fact about the game. Brock Purdy, $800,000 this year salary. Arch Manning, backup quarterback at Texas, $3.1 million.
Yes. Stay in school. Stay in school.
What's wrong with that picture?
Hey,
stay in school, kids.
And I will add, Tennessee in all kinds of trouble in the process of disillusioning the NCAA over a $8 million contract. And Florida's quarterback that signed ruled ineligible $13.5 million. Quarterback is where it's
at. It's ruining. I mean, you're gonna have to go to the D3 level to watch college football the way it used to be.
They accept it what it is.
It is.
It's minor league football, and I'm okay.
It is. I've said this for years. I think that especially football. Now, the other sports, you don't see as much of this, but especially football, when you look at all the movement that takes place, it's like free agency every year. And I think they need to separate that football program from the college. I don't think they should be giving scholarships to kids that aren't going to finish school, got no intentions of finishing school.
Only problem with that, do you know what pays for every other pro? There's only
football.
2 programs at the University of Tennessee that
yep.
3 in some years that make money.
Well,
The football program, the
Yep.
basketball program, and they have been years that the Lady Balls make money. Most schools, the ladies team basketball team does not. So
it's a mess. I got no problem with kids getting paid. I got no problem with that. What I do have a problem with is that it's a free for all. Everybody jumping around every year. I
Yeah.
think there's got to be some kind of contractual agreement. I think if you saw in the news over this past week, I think a court ruled that Dartmouth football players are to be they were trying to be considered and unionized and be considered employees, and that court ruled in their favor. So with that being said, if you want to be that way, then you got to there should be some kind of contractual obligation for these kids to
So,
the university.
so the mistake everyone's making right now is thinking this lawsuit is the University of Tennessee versus the NCAA. It is the state of Tennessee
Yes.
versus the NCAA
Yeah.
and the state of Virginia saying,
Yeah.
hey, these are private businesses and you cannot
Yeah.
run them. And I think it does break up the NCAA.
And it needs to happen. And I think what you're going to see is you're going to see the Big Ten, and I don't know what's called now in the SEC, and you're going to see some leadership come out of those two conferences, and you're going to have a new association. I guess the only thing I could relate it to, even though it's a completely different sport, was the PGA. You had the LIV, a new league come, and you got players jumping ship going to the LIV. Still a pro league, still a same sport. Just that's what's going to happen.
And everybody can criticize it for all it's worth, Jeremy. Come sit with me August 31st in Knoxville, Tennessee, or Tuscaloosa, Alabama, or Starkville,
It'll be full.
or Tempe, Arizona, or Austin, Texas, or Syracuse, New York. It will be full. And
Oh yeah,
a lot of people like me.
Yep.
A lot of people like you.
Yep.
So, hey, Howie, before you jump out of the news, I just want to say I love that shirt.
Mine or Jeremy's?
Yours.
Oh.
Yeah, I like it. Is
That's
that the salute to service version with the OD green? Cool.
I got Venom on.
Oh God, I thought he was about to show us his stomach there, his midsection.
He will for
Stop going like
He will before it's over. Please jump off this early before he.
Let's do this podcast.
To finish up the college talk, football talk real quick, my opinion is if you're going to pay the players, pay them all the same.
Yeah.
There's enough money out there where you can pay them all exactly the same. And do that. So let's move on to the news, wrestling news. We're wrestling. It's hard to tell for this first 12 minutes, 15. But we're actually a wrestling show. So let's get to the news. The only big news this week is Scott D'Amore out of TNA. What's your thoughts on that, Jeremy?
To me, surprised.
Been there for 81 years, I think, what I heard today.
I do, I do think that TNA has a really good product. I do. I think they have a great product. I think the thing with them has always been kind of the availability. You have to kind of look for them to find them, their impact and stuff. I think it's on Axis right now, if I'm not mistaken. And Axis is not on every cable package or whatever. I was surprised. They just made that move to go back to TNA from Impact. The only thing that I can think is that they're kind of integrating them back into that whole Anthem. Instead of it being a branch, it's a part of that Anthem group. The first thing I thought about was WCW when Turner bought it. And it was just an afterthought, and it was run by people who didn't know wrestling. And I'm not saying that's what'll happen, but that's the first thought that came to my mind is if you get a bunch of suits, if you will, involved in things they know nothing about and they don't have any skin in the game, so to speak. Um, I don't know. I don't know what's going to do. Hopefully, it boosts that. It boosts that their presence, and maybe they a little bit more accessible for viewers, and hopefully it helps them. But I'm not so sure.
All right, Randy.
I was all about this because I think Scott Demore had run out of his time. I think the problem with TNA right now, and you and Jeremy have talked about it on here, is AEW's storyline direction changes a lot. TNA will change weekly because they cannot keep talent. And they will head to a big pay-per-view with a main event A, and it turns into main event B.
Mm-hmm.
So at first I was very excited about Scott Demore being out. Then I got to thinking about the product. He's kept it relative with no budget
Right.
a bunch of years. And I don't know how they do it. They don't tour.
Right.
They don't do house shows. They don't really do pay-per-views that draw more than maybe a few thousand views. So I've never understood where the money comes from in TNA. And every now and then they'll grab somebody like a Jay White or a lot of talk about Kazuchika Okada, and they'll use them for a few weeks, but they never stay.
Yeah.
Their homegrown talent is really good. Josh Alexander is really good, and Alexander Hammerstein has been there recently. Really good. I think Alexander Hammerstein needs to reunite with MJF back in AEW. But I think they have to tour at some level, boys, to get enough talent to keep it relevant. You've got your guys like Ace Austin and Moose have kind of been there forever, and I don't think Moose could have been in the WWE. I think at 6'6" and 300 ex-NFL player. I hope what comes out of this is a direction to what TNA is going to be. A lot of people feel TNA is the true number 2. Well, a non-touring company is not the true number 2. It is a TV program with no live wrestling right now.
Right.
And where they shoot it in the studio, I think that kills the product for me. In a very small, even going back to Southeastern Championship Wrestling, jumping to Continental back in the day, Howie. If you'll remember, one thing that they did going to Continental, they recorded in the BJCC, which, they could get the bottom level full and it looked like a big arena. And, you felt like going up against the WWE, you could see that, Continental wasn't just a little territory. So I hope for TNA's sake, we need TNA. I just went up last week and said there's nowhere for wrestlers to develop. Well, that's the one spot they've got they could develop. So and I think a partnership with AEW. I think the partnership with AEW is good for TNA to get a Kenny Omega, to get some people in and out of there. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, what about the partnership with WWE? They got to have something going on with Jordan Grace being able to go to the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Yep. They also have NXT, which is so. NXT does not is a good development company, but NXT is designed to take people that have never wrestled and make them WWE wrestlers.
Right.
TNA, if they go down that road with TNA, there's some kind of partnership with the WWE, it would be horrible to me. We've got one NXT. We don't need a second one. And to me, you look at who's been developed in TNA over the years. AJ Styles, Robert Roode, James Storm. There's some good talent came out of TNA.
World champion Samoa Joe.
Samoa Joe. Yeah, ROH guy. Hey, you want to talk about one that's really a TNA guy? Cut his nails in TNA? L.A. Knight is
Hmm.
a TNA project
Yep.
prodigy.
Jay Lethal. I mean,
There's room for a third one. You just got to know how to
yeah.
get the revenue.
Yeah, and
Kind of opened up the bank a little bit, and they're willing to sign bigger people now. But
mhm.
a lot of people went on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it that is in TNA right now that's saying if D'Amour's not there, they don't want to be there.
It's typical when you change leadership. You got people who are loyal. They're gonna be loyal to the leader. They're gonna be loyal to their boss, hopefully, because they like them or whatever. And that happens in every every realm in which there's a hierarchy of any kind. So yeah, I could see that.
Hey, the only thing I would become the biggest TNA fan if we turn it on next week and Jeff Jarrett's named the on-air director of TNA because
Hmm,
you need
yeah,
that. You need them for real.
and look, it makes you wonder.
You're right.
Uh, it makes you wonder because you got Jeff. I think Tommy Dreamer's still working backstage uh, with TNA. You got some originals, and Jeff got kind of rooted out of that situation anyway. So it makes you wonder because
And
he's got
I'll
that.
be tonight. George Jackson Jr., Vince McMahon loves some TNA.
Well, that's that's for dang sure.
Really.
Oh my goodness.
So let's go on to the next story real quick, and then we'll get into our main subject, the free agency front. Kind of got a glimpse into what's going to happen on March the 3rd in AEW, wherein they have the big business where everybody's anticipating Mercedes Moné will show up, formerly known as Sasha Banks. Jeremy, let me ask you this. Is she going to bring a bigger crowd to AEW?
Initially, probably. But if they don't, again, their problem's not talent. Their problem is not talent. I think their women's division has gotten better. Their problem is not talent. Their problem is they can't build stories and have no cohesiveness with the talent and use that talent in the right way. If you look at all the talent that's come in and it was big announcement or whatever the case may be, and it's just like after a while it's like, okay. So initially, people will be excited. They'll get the pop that they're searching for. But then what are you gonna do with it? Then what are you gonna put together? You're gonna put her in a faction, uh, like they have with uh, Ruby and uh, Paige. That was a big deal when they came in. What are you gonna do? You gonna put her in a faction, then she disappears, or you gonna try to separate her and and put her in that superstar level role and keep her there? Because she is based compared to the other women in the division. Oh, she's way up here, and Randall agrees with that. I know.
I do.
But if you don't do anything with her, then you're looking at the same old thing.
Hey, before we talk about can't tell storylines, did Cody Rhodes just win the Royal Rumble, but The Rock is wrestling Roman Reigns?
Don't get me started on
I,
that, man.
I don't think it's just AEW that suffers that issue.
No, they have fouled that up royally, and how
So
we may have been getting there. So
I'm a big believer right now that TNA or that AEW is being remade. And you look at who has been slowly moved to the top of the cards. It's everyone that we agree that's the best wrestlers there.
mhm,
Samoa Joe, a world champion, where he couldn't be in any other,
yes,
Now you've got a true, you had your Paige, you had your
Mhm.
Ruby Soho. Paige, I don't think is medically the same Paige that was
No.
in the WWE. Ruby
No.
Soho was a bit player in the WWE. The boss is the boss, and
Yeah.
when she walked out, she left a lot of great matches on the
Mhm.
uh, mark. What I'm afraid of, I'm not as critical as you guys of AEW, but they put the best match in the first program. If you bring out Britt Baker versus Sasha Banks, Mercedes Monet, the first match, her first series is with Britt Baker. Where do you go from there?
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know, build to Wembley with that match or something. I don't think AEW does a very good job building to a storyline. They make the entrance and like CM Punk, he was never going to be bigger and over than the first week he was there.
Mhm.
Um,
Right.
hey, and on the free agent front, I think we'd be remiss to say the name Kazuchika Okada is out there.
You
Yep.
didn't give me time.
Do what?
You didn't give me time. That's going to be my next one.
Nah.
So I'll just be
Let the host, Randall.
I'll be stopping now because I got real thoughts on that one too.
I'm cutting you off right now.
Go ahead.
To me, the most waste talent in any wrestling promotion is Nakamura being a job guy in the WWE. And if you're gonna
Yeah.
bring Okada over here to job, don't bring him.
Mm-mm.
Leave him over in Japan.
Yeah.
So
Jeremy, your thoughts on Okada?
Uh, I mean, I've watched him. I like him. I mean, he's that Japanese style, and really, if we're looking at best fit, if he's not going to stay in Japan, uh, I think it's got to be AEW or TNA actually, and he's been in TNA before in early years, but I don't. I'm with Randall. I love Shinsuke Nakamura, and they finally figured out some things with him. What, 7 years in, however long, that instead of trying to get him to speak English and cut promos, let him speak Japanese, have the subtitles. I think they're great. And I watched the match the other night, a bull rope match with Cody. Which, don't get me started on why you use a bull rope if it's not even going to play a part in the match. But he's, to me, he's champion. To me, he should be holding a belt,
yeah.
but they just don't use him. I don't know why. The crowd pops for him. Uh, he's got one of the best entrance. He's got some of the best entrance music ever. you know,
Well, I'll tell
uh,
you exactly why. The man that's not there no more didn't know what to do with him.
that moron.
Now you got Triple H in charge for the last
Yep,
year and a half, and look at the ones that
yep.
should have been on top that wasn't, that is now, because you got the right person leading them.
Well, and he's not. I read something last night or the night before last. Talking about Nakamura still being a jobber. I don't know that that's the case. I know he's losing matches and stuff, but he's in some pretty high level matches. And to me, at the end of the day, it ain't real. You're not really getting beat. You're only getting beat because it's part of the story. And if I'm in a high level match with a lot of eyes on it and I'm getting paid, you know.
But Jeremy, the only thing I'll say to you, you view the Honky Tonk Man real different than the Macho Man Randy Savage, and they both were Intercontinental champions.
Yeah, true.
So
that's true.
the one thing I'll say about Okada too, if you haven't heard his English, much better than Nakamura's, much
Yeah.
more Western sounding. So
Yes.
I actually think Okada may need to go to the WWE.
Hmm.
And I want everybody in AEW, but I think
Yeah.
Okada is it with Triple H. If Vince was still there, I would say no.
Yeah.
Triple H, and you make Okada a spectacle. Oh my God, it's Okada.
Mm.
Kim
Here.
Dong, every house show jobbing to Cody Rhodes.
Mhm.
Also, I think Cody Rhodes might protect Okada a little bit. Because Okada and that bunch that Cody went to New Japan with, they took Cody when he was pretty much just a jobber in WWE and made a star of him in New Japan. So
Well,
I really want to see Okada in the biggest stage he can be, because to me, everybody can say what they want to. Best wrestler in the world is Ichie Okada. Easily.
hey, so I know we're about to get to fantasy booking, and this is not on my list. But what if you had Okada in WWE against Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship? I'd be in on that.
So
Just saying.
I think I'm gonna do one of those things Howie hates. I think I'm gonna ruin WrestleMania for y'all.
Shut up! Shut up!
Gunther is to put the WWE. The I think the point of Gunther is for Gunther to wrestle Roman Reigns at Bash at Berlin
Hmm.
August, and I really think that may be.
I-
And that's 3 weeks before he breaks Hogan's world record that evidently everybody wants him to break.
Yeah.
So you can't put Gunther over yet, but I could see that. I could see that being better than what we're going to get at WrestleMania, which is
Yeah.
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 Well, we're not really sure of what we're going to get at Mania.
No.
They were doing the presser a while ago, and so I had to get away from it to join this, so I don't really know what fired.
So I did read right before we jumped on here. I did read that Roman Reigns picked The Rock to
Yes,
face at
I
WrestleMania.
did see that part of it. Roman said that they had their chance to pick. Now it's his turn to pick who he wants, and he wanted The Rock.
Hey,
But
listen,
Rock was talking, and a lot of Cody wasn't out there yet, so I don't know if there's a swerve there. I don't know what's going on. So
I hope there is. I really do. I hope this is all kind of uh you know kayfabe part of a story, and it's not going to literally be that match, because I mean it's not awful, but that they got to put a title on Cody.
go ahead.
I'm very excited for the match, just because I'm going to get the pie eating, wheeler dealer, eye barrel raising Rock in the ring. You know,
Yeah.
I'm going to get the Rock one more time, and I really believe every time we see the Rock, it could be his last time we ever see him. So we need to appreciate these appearances. Also think there's a significance in the family matchup. You're finally going to get Rock versus Roman. I just think this was real bad timing, and I really thought this should have happened last year. The groundswell around Cody Rhodes is equal to that of Daniel Bryan when they changed the WrestleMania main event and inserted brought Daniel Bryan into the WWE main event of WrestleMania. I don't think they're going to insert Cody, but Cody Rhodes, I was so mad at him for leaving AEW. Cody Rhodes, the biggest star in wrestling, maybe.
He's up there.
But the reason you have The Rock versus Roman, The Rock's capable of putting eyes on the product that Cody Rhodes can never, Roman Reigns never. There'll be people watch WrestleMania to see The Rock that don't even know who Rhodes is.
So think about it like this, and I agree. Anytime The Rock shows up, man, I forgot completely about SmackDown being in Birmingham. Otherwise, if I would have been down there, and we would have got that Rock appearance live. So I know people are upset, but I'm a fan of long term story here with Cody, and there's plenty of time here. Everybody's like, well, they need to do this right now. No, not necessarily, because this is could be continue to be Cody's motivation. You could carry this out one more year now, and Cody's still fighting and clawing and trying to finish the story. And I'm with you on the timing of this, Rock and Roman. But all I know is if they put Cody in the ring with Roman and they're not ready for Roman to get beat, and he beats Cody again, or if it's some kind of funky disqualification, it ain't good for Cody. So they're better off not to put him in the ring with Roman until they're ready for Roman to get beat.
So 3 years is too long. Dusty turned face in 1974. He won the title in 1982.
Yeah.
That was an 8-year pursuit of the NWA World Heavyweight Championship.
Yep.
I'm okay with Cody. I'm okay with Cody stepping aside, and they did it in a manner that I'm kind of like, okay, I get it. What I'm not okay about is if you're ever loved wrestling, don't you show The Rock any disrespect.
No.
He's right to come and do whatever he wants to do. And
Well,
the WWE is a company that will make more money off The Rock's appearance at WrestleMania than everything else associated with the WWE that weekend. So,
right.
I mean, it's The Rock, boys. Don't be out there hating on The Rock. And I'm not the biggest Rock fan. I'm a strong fan. So,
can you okay?
Yeah, we hear you. You having trouble with your headphones? I thought.
I think they died on me.
So,
Well, while I was watching that, The Rock brought up the screen behind it had a family tree,
Mm-hmm.
him and Roman's family and all this, and the two top was their grandfathers.
Mm-hmm.
Rock's grandfather, Roman's grandfather, and he was fixing to start saying something when I had to get on here. So that's why I feel like there is some type of change or a swerve there toward the end, but I don't know.
Yeah, so for me, I mean, you know what? WrestleMania is going to be good. It doesn't matter. It's been sold out before they knew who would even be. WrestleMania has never disappointed me. So I'm gonna wait and see. Let's see what happens. It may be some kind of crazy swerve, and we may all be wowed by it.
Well, it's kind of like Bianca Belair said when she came out there. She said, "Super Bowl's in Las Vegas this week. Our Super Bowl is going to be in Philadelphia in 2 months."
What if the swerve is they put put Roman clean over The Rock?
Well, I mean, here's the thing, though.
That's a national story.
Are you gonna put the title on The Rock, who is not going to be Roman isn't either, but are you gonna put The Rock as a champion? Unless you're going to beat him the next pay-per-view in a rematch, whatever. I don't want to be in a ring with Roman Reigns if I know they're not ready to beat him.
Hey, why don't you just don't make it for the title?
Yeah.
It's just a family pride, head of the table thing.
Put the head of the table up there. It means more than the title.
Yeah, I mean, listen. How about this?
Every word Seth Rollins said. That title is a Hollywood title.
Yep.
It's not the title defended every night at house shows. It's
right.
not. It's everything Seth Rollins said, who has quietly been the MVP of this whole mess.
Oh, he has. That promo, and they were setting the stage. That promo on Raw 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, Monday, was fantastic when he was talking about that World Heavyweight Championship. We talked about this last week. I thought that was one of the best promos I'd ever heard between Cody and between Seth Rollins.
Agreed.
Well, think about it real quick, and then we got to get to our fantasy. Who holds the title more than Roman Reigns?
Oh,
the advocate, Paul Heyman, he's the one that's always holding it.
Yeah.
Roman Reigns never holds it.
Yeah.
So just like Seth Rollins said, it's a Hollywood title. It's a title for show.
yeah, it is.
So what about this along that same line? What if along the way in this Rock Roman matchup, what if The Rock says, I don't want your title. I don't need your title. I'm a legend, but I'm here to teach you a lesson and put you in your rightful place because I'm the head of the table.
That's
Yeah,
all.
basically to tell, hey, I'm here to show you how to respect people.
You're gonna respect, yeah, right, yeah.
Oh,
No,
Simple.
it's not gonna disappoint. And regardless of who the matchups are, I've never watched WrestleMania and been upset.
Well, you weren't in Atlanta with me and Randy that night, but other than that, it was.
Well, now let me back up.
Horrible WrestleMania.
Undertaker getting beat, single most upsetting thing I've ever watched in wrestling.
Watching The Miz come out to the main event of the WrestleMania, single upsetting thing I've ever seen. Okay, let's move on, boys.
Randy was mad at me because on the way to the event, when I got to Cartersville, when I got on the interstate on 75, there's no cars nowhere. And you never see that. There's always cars. Well, I looked at my rearview mirror and I could see there's a wreck at the exit right when you get off. So I called Randy and said, hey, man, I said, are you on your way down? He said, yeah, I'm about 10 or 15 minutes from Cartersville. I said, you need to get off. I said, there's been a wreck, and I don't know how far back it's backed up. I appreciate it. After we saw WrestleMania, he was pissed because he actually made it to watch the whole thing instead of
sitting in traffic.
Yeah.
I went to WrestleMania, and
I don't think
the most exciting thing of the night was Snooki.
Yeah, she was athletic.
Hey, and the only one match was at WrestleMania quality, and that was The Undertaker Triple H, and it was like the 10th one of the one. And Shawn Michaels in as a referee, and look, that you go watch that we ought to review that WrestleMania sometime.
Yeah.
I can just eat it alive.
Yeah.
The Big Show was in the ring 2 seconds the whole night.
Yeah, it was tough. So, all right, let's get to our fantasy booking. Because we spent 42 minutes on this other stuff. Fantasy booking, top 3 fantasy bookings of all time. Anybody that you wanted to put together, any time frame, anything. I'm going to start with Jeremy because he's laughing about something. So we'll go ahead and start with Jeremy.
All right, so we're doing top 3, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
You realize how difficult this was. I finally just said, hey, you know what? This is it for me. So I'm going to start with my number 3. And I've already mentioned one of the participants' name earlier, but I got it number 3. And I don't know if you wanted a specific match. I would just go ahead and say any of the SummerSlam, WrestleMania, whatever you want to call it. But I would have loved to have seen Magnum TA in his prime against Gunther now.
Ooh, that's a good
for the Intercontinental title. I think they would beat the bleep out of each other. And it would be freaking awesome. 2 athletic guys, 2 physical guys. And look, I've talked a little bit about Magnum TA, and we all know the story, but I think that guy was going to be a superstar before it was over. And so these 2, I think that would be a super good match between the 2. And I'm going to go ahead and call the winner.
Yeah.
TA defeats Gunther for the Intercontinental title with a belly-to-belly suplex.
Ooh.
3 in a row to defeat him. 3. He had to do 3 to beat him.
That's nice, Jeremy. Really nice.
I'm proud of myself.
All right, Randy, you're number 3.
All right, man. I went a little different way with this. I actually kind of booked it. So I'm going to start with a match that would I've actually talked about on this show before about how I wished it could have happened. But let's start with the Von Erichs. Not just the Von Erichs, but the whole Von Erich clan.
Oh boy.
David, Kerry, Kevin. And you know what? You only had a short window where this could happen. And that was right when David, before he died, Mike was training to get into the ring. So it has to be late 82. So you've got the Von Erichs. And they have pursued, David Von Erich has pursued every form of trying to get the World Heavyweight Championship. So, again, the Von Erichs, all 5 of them, including Fritz, will be entering a war game. The stipulation of the war game is the winner can pick the stipulation of the upcoming David Von Erich, Ric Flair, 1 hour Iron Man match.
Nice.
So it is the five members of the Von Erich family versus this collection of the Horsemen.
Nice.
Dillon, Barry Windham, Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard. So we have the matchup for a War Games. Now, the Horsemen being the Horsemen, coming with a plan. Their plan is to isolate the rookie, Mike Von Erich.
Mm-hmm.
How they're going to do this is when he enters the cage, everybody assumes JJ will enter the cage with Fritz Von Erich, kind of the senior members enter the battle. What they are going to do, though, is enter JJ Dillon with Mike Von Erich and thinking that JJ can survive Mike Von Erich, then enter Tully Blanchard with Fritz Von Erich, giving the Horsemen a huge advantage as they loaded in. Of course, Von Erich, David Von Erich, Ric Flair, the last 2 in. When you get 4 people in, you've got a Von Erich outside, you've got Flair outside. They trap Mike Von Erich. And he suffers a slingshot suplex that we all think the match is going to end now, and David Von Erich's never going to get his hands on Ric Flair. And off the top rope, Kevin Von Erich saves the pin at the last second, putting the whole clan in there together. The Von Erichs, versus the Horsemen. If the Horsemen win, no match. David Von Erich will never see Ric Flair again. If the Von Erichs win 1 hour Iron Man match in Dallas. So the finish, I thought about it a lot. The finish has to be Mike Von Erich somehow getting a pinfall. Like they have just destroyed him the whole match. And he catches Arn Anderson in like a schoolboy roll-up or something to get the pinfall at the end to put the Von Erichs over the Horsemen. And guys, look, there was no greater rivalry than the Freebirds and the Von Erichs. Think about if we took this to a national stage and we had David. We had 4 Von Erichs. And we had the 4 Horsemen. They just missed each other by a little bit. But that's my first in a War Games.
Nice.
In a War Games, the Von Erichs over the Horsemen.
Nice.
So,
and that's why I chose 3 instead of 10.
I could have gave a briefer summary if you'd gave me 10. Because there's a match that's not on here that I'm sick about.
So, well, it's your turn to do your second one, Randy. Go ahead.
Okay, my second one's going to be short and sweet. It is the most demanded match in the history of pro wrestling. It's the match that Vince McMahon himself destroyed. And I don't think you have this match unless you have it inside a Hell in a Cell. The Undertaker Sting inside Hell in the Cell. The 2 icons, the 2 legendary performers that never met inside the ring finally meet in a Hell in a Cell. And the way you book it is the Hell in a Cell is a way to keep everybody else out and not keep them in.
Yeah.
I also think this has got to be a super physical match. It also has got to end on kind of a whim somehow. I think you book it by exposing Sting's torn ACL that he'd had suffered at the hands of the Horsemen. And you maybe put Sting going for a high-risk mover off the top rope, and he lands funny as he controls the match. And he just opens the doorway for the Undertaker. You know, Hal, you talked about that WrestleMania match we saw between the Undertaker and Triple H. You could almost book this way.
Yeah.
Young, athletic Sting just dominates the Undertaker. One mistake costs Sting the match. And to me, I don't know if you can pin him, but you could definitely put him in the Hell's Gate and make him tap out. So inside the Hell in the Cell, it is the Undertaker over Sting.
Wow.
That's good, Randy.
Got too much time on my hands, boys.
I know it's just the fact of sitting here kind of visualizing them in their prime doing this.
Yeah.
Oh, it would have been awesome. Hey,
You know?
my other version of this that I almost went with, Sting versus the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
That was the other version of this, but I could not have a fantasy match.
No.
And also, you get the Von Erichs, and you'll see here in a minute. I think I've went through the generations. You got the Von Erichs and the Horsemen in the 70s and the 80s. This, to me, represents the now. You know, both of these guys just now finished up their career.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
represent the here and now with Sting versus the Undertaker. So my next match is going to bridge that bridge if you can't get where I'm going.
All right, Jeremy, you're number 2.
Well, no drama here. My number 2, just as with Randall, is one of the few matches I could look at and just wish, even now, both of them, one more match, Undertaker, with Sting. So mine is Sting and the Undertaker. I debated on whether to do Hell in a Cell or to do a casket match.
Last man standing.
Last man standing. I don't feel like you could do this justice unless you had a trilogy, a series of matches. I think you could do it in a way. I mean, to me, this would be, if you look and you go with Surfer Sting, and he wrestles the American Badass version of the Undertaker, or the earliest version of the Undertaker, or you go the latest version, the TNA Sting, still in his in good, could do singles matches and was doing singles matches, versus that last version of the Undertaker. But I don't feel like there's any way you could possibly mess this match up.
So
With these.
I don't mean to cut you off. So you legit had that match down?
I did. No, that was that. I wrote this notes. I wrote this like during the day today, and actually wrote it on paper.
You know, when I came up with this, I thought this is one thing that y'all won't have nothing.
No, look, I love Sting.
I think we got close to this is the reason me and Jeremy both are aching for it, because I think we had the shot when Sting went to WWE and we had that god-awful NWO versus DX WrestleMania match with Hunter beating Sting that was just horrible.
Still makes me mad.
Yeah.
No reason. Hunter didn't need it. Triple H didn't need it. Sting don't need it either. But that was his one, kind of moment that he had at WrestleMania. And, you know, maybe they had later plans and that injury, you know, when he got injured by, you know, that buckle bomb with Seth and stuff. I don't know, but I would, even today, if they said Sting's final match is with The Undertaker, I'm in. I'm all for it because I still feel like that. Are they going to put on a match like they, you know, if they were both in their prime? No. I feel like it would be a match that you would be happy that you watched. But I don't know who wins. I feel like it'd have to be a trilogy. I'm an Undertaker. I love them both so much. I don't even know how. You know. Yeah, they do. We'll let you on too, Jessica. Hey, you know, I don't know how you do it any other way. Maybe
this image is the one that just makes me sick.
yes.
I mean, I'm no wrestling promoter. I can
No.
do build up to this match in 4 words. Hell in the Cell.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. That's
You
all.
can't mix it up.
And have some of the, you know, Sting and the Raptors. Hell in the Cell and the Undertaker to nod. So that's it.
So,
Still 4
I mean, look, we didn't get on here to do math. So, Randall, I'm with you on that.
Degree from the University of Tennessee, math. I still love this comment. Let's go back.
Yeah.
Just let anybody on that show. Yeah.
You graduate over here. So,
I thought there was a chance we both would have this match.
Yeah, well, I would be all for it even today, even though it'd be a fraction of what it could have been.
I wanted to put a tag team match in this spot, so then I had a War Games a tag team match.
Yeah.
But hey, I will be honest. The only tag team matches I could come up with that are dream matches: the Rock and Roll Express versus the Midnight Express, the Road Warriors versus the Steiners. I mean, we saw the best.
Yeah. So I had, you know, again, I'll let Howie take over, but I had some honorable mentions. I think if we got a second, we'll talk about. But
I've got one honorable mention that killed.
Yeah, we'll get to that here at the end of the show. So, Jeremy, go ahead with your number 1.
Well, number 1, and I debated between Sting, Undertaker, and this one, but I think if you had this at the right time, I think it would have been bigger than Hulk Andre at WrestleMania 3.
Have the same matches.
But here's my number 1 is going to be, I'm talking 84 through 87, 88 Hulk Hogan as the World WWF champion versus one Bruiser Brody.
Wow.
For the title. And I you know, the way they built Hogan is they always had a big monster heel, you know, threatening, and I can't think of any more of a monster heel in the 80s than Bruiser Brody. And equal size, strength, you know, I just think it would have been the thing that you would want to see. And I still think Hogan goes over. I think he built it. I think Brody attacks. Brody, you know, does Brody things. And you know, it leaves a lot of doubt with the people, you know, let's just go ahead and back up. It was Saturday night's main event. Bruiser Brody attacks Hulk Hogan after his match, and you know, all the kids are scared. This big, mean, scary, wild man has beat our hero, or left our hero laying, and then you build that over the course of a time, and Hogan, you know, Brody gets over because he looks strong in it, but Hogan hulks up, rallies, and you know, you go with the big boot and the big leg drop. and I'm gonna go ahead and say it 2 to 3 leg drops because you're trying to keep the King Kong Bruiser Brody down, so he goes over.
This is on my honorable mention. And this almost happened.
It did.
Brody don't die in Puerto Rico. They're going to bring him up to New York at some point and give him a year and a half around the circuit with Hogan. Let me tell you the one thing I would have done differently, Jeremy. I would have put a short run on Brody that changed that title at WrestleMania. You know, I'd let him go over somehow. Hogan injures himself, and then Brody goes over him, and then 60 days later in the rematch at WrestleMania 6 or 7,
The
Hogan
cool thing,
Bruiser Brody.
yeah, the cool thing about certain wrestlers is you can look at them, you go, they never needed a title. And I feel like Brody was one of those that even though he held a few, you know, in Japan mainly, I believe, but he was an attraction on the level, to me, he was an attraction on the level of Andre.
Well, I think that's more to let Hogan go over and win the title to have that than it is Brody to own the title.
Yeah, and then go back up and have that Hogan must pose moment again. I just love it when I think of my two there, especially. Those have always been kind of stuck in my brain. Now that third one just kind of came to me, but I just you couldn't mess that up. I don't think. Well, maybe Vince missed. Maybe he messed it up. So,
all right, Randy, you're number one.
The greatest draw in sports entertainment history. The man, the living legend, Stone Cold Steve Austin. And you've got to go back and get some history because this is another one that almost happened. And you've got to go back to ECW and remember one very emotional after being fired from WCW, Steve-O-Mania promo, where he basically tore Eric Bischoff and Hulk Hogan apart. And let's go with it. I mean, The Rock left the business to go be an actor. I think two people, start finish, are pro wrestlers. And I think the match that we never got, the icon from the 80s and 90s, the living legend, hate his guts, but you cannot deny what he's made this sport. And I'm not talking about the guy we saw on TV in the late 80s. I'm talking about this guy.
mm-hmm.
I'm talking about 302 pounds from Venice Beach, hanging and banging. Vince McMahon had a chance to make this match. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus the Hulk Hogan. And I think it represents the greatest of the Attitude Era, the NWO, WCW era, and Vince McMahon's taking over the wrestling era. I think it's the two most dominating wrestlers over the last 20 years.
I don't disagree.
I struggled with this one. I'm going to give you a finish that just kind of is out of my head. So, you know, great match. It's at war. When one man that we all know and love shows up and attacks Hulk Hogan. Stone Cold doesn't get involved, but does go over and take the cheap pin over Hogan after he's attacked by Roddy Piper. But at the same time, after the match is over, Piper is attacked by Stone Cold Steve Austin and Hogan until the alliance is and Andre shows up to support Piper. Backstory that Andre and Piper are the two, while Hogan and Stone Cold Steve Austin got to be the face of the company. Piper and the Giant was always the number one draws. Yeah. So you set up another pay-per-view where you have Stone Cold and Steve Austin and Hollywood Hulk Hogan or Hulk Hogan teaming versus Piper and the Giant, which I think might have been the even bigger match. And I had a hard time not including that,
Yeah.
Kids Fantasy Booking. I want Andre on there. So leaving Andre off of this whole thing almost broke my heart.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out a way to get Andre on. Because to me, in the 60s and 70s, that man made sports entertainment.
Yeah.
He made wrestling. So I think you got to have a swerve. You can't have a clean victory with Stone Cold over Hogan, but you get that at the end. And why? Because Stone Cold can wrestle circles around Hogan.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
So
basically on your first match, you've got the say your prayers and eat your vitamins guy against the beer swilling, bird flipping, out everybody.
And then you've got the beer swilling guy in Hollywood Hulk Hogan versus Piper and the Giant.
Ah.
So there was a picture I had of Piper and the Giant, like in this evil somebody had made. I can't find it, and it just like I can see this just being so easily done. Hey, and I'm with Jeremy. This was the second match that I realized you can't put this on second. Because I had Undertaker and Sting as my number one match. So,
yeah.
But my third match, Stone Cold Steve Austin over Hulk Hogan.
I like it. I don't think I don't think any of these would be horrible matches. I think they'd be fantastic.
Before we go any farther, and Jeremy gives the list, I have one match that I couldn't figure out how to get on here, and I think it would be the greatest match ever. WCW Giant versus Andre.
Prime Andre.
Prime Andre, 1974 Andre.
Yeah.
That's the fourth match that I wanted on here.
And maybe Prime Giant too. WCW. Yeah. WCW. Yeah. We don't want to see late Big Show and late Andre the Giant.
I'm talking WCW Giant.
Yeah.
Long haired, beard.
Yeah.
Talking, and I have a picture of it. This Andre the Giant,
Yeah.
320, 40 pounds or something.
Yeah, that was the scary that was the scary Giant right there because you knew he could move and he was agile and everything. Yeah.
One other one that I had, and I'll let Jeremy have it, is the ultimate good guy, fan favorite, Bruno Sammartino, loved by the world before our time. But you got to understand, Bruno was loved by everybody.
Yeah.
Versus the most despised man in wrestling history, and I guess you can have opinions, but to me, that is the greatest heel to walk the face of the earth when he's a heel.
Yeah, so, I don't disagree.
The Hot Rod versus Bruno Sammartino was my other one. So,
wow. So, go ahead, Howie.
No, I'm just saying, go ahead with some of your honorable.
So I thought about this, but then I realized that they did wrestle. And that being, and the aforementioned Bruiser Brody versus The Undertaker. But they did wrestle. I think to be exact, it was The Undertaker or Mark Calloway's very first match as Texas Red, and we've talked about that before. And I've watched that match. But I would say prime Bruiser Brody, prime Undertaker. Two big guys that could wrestle. I think I like the thought of that match anyway, and that's with Brody being. I think Brody's a babyface on that one, to be honest. And I think that would be a great match. But even though they're big, and I don't think it'd be a clash of styles because they could both move so well. And
did you ever think about putting them? Maybe I thought about. Everybody knows that Terry Funk's my hero.
Yeah.
Dory and Terry Funk versus, and it happened, Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody.
Yeah.
In Japan. And that's, to me, that's the ultimate. if you're going to have a tag team match, that's it.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I tried to think of ways I could get Terry and Dory, or Terry at least, on this list, and I'll tell you another one that came to my mind, and this is kind of mixing today's versus. I think a Roman Reigns Bam Bam Bigelow match would be pretty freaking awesome. And I say that, Roman obviously is in his prime right now, but I'm talking about prime Bam Bam. I just like that the head of the table versus the Beast of the East there, and Bam Bam Bigelow. Two more. One happened, but the timing was incorrect, and I say 91, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair at WrestleMania.
Should have been WrestleMania 6.
Huh? WrestleMania 6. We saw it, right? We saw it multiple times in WCW. I feel like they really missed it, and I know there were reasons for it. And Flair has been quoted as saying that he wasn't really a draw outside of the Crockett territory. I disagree with that. I don't think that's the case. I think I know for us that saw both a WrestleMania match with a good build for the title. If they could have kept that real world's champion thing going, and it's title versus title, I think it'd be pretty dang cool. And I would have Flair going over because I'm just that way. If you make me pick between Flair and Hogan, I like them both. They were both kind of the centerpieces of my wrestling when I was a kid. Today I'm gonna go with Flair. Back then I'll go with Hogan because Flair was the evil villain. Last one, tag team match, my only one. Y'all know from our tag team list, my favorite tag team of all time is the Road Warriors. They're right there. I wouldn't minded seeing a Road Warriors versus the Brothers of Destruction match of any kind.
Did not have that one. Didn't have that.
I think it'd be a great match, mainly because Kane and The Undertaker both could work so well, and they would have been able to work with Hawk and Animal. But I think that, and I would dare say that I would want a Chicago street fight match between those two teams. And I'm talking maybe Paul Bearer in one corner, Precious Paul Ellering in the other, and
oh no,
yeah. I don't know about it. I just like the size. I just like that size and that strength. One of my favorites in Crockett was the Warlord and the Barbarian versus the Road Warriors, and we saw that in WWF when you had Demolition wrestling the Powers of Pain, which is the Warlord and the Barbarian. So we saw versions of it. I always intrigued by that. Those big, strong, dark, mean teams like that. So that's all I've got. But I felt like I was proud of myself. I felt like those were pretty good matches.
You'd want Paul Ellering in one corner, Paul Bear in one corner, and 911 ambulance on speed dial in the other.
You definitely would want the EMTs close by. I would, especially with it being a street fight between the two teams. But man, wouldn't that be great? That'd be. I just love to see the entrances and yeah.
Hey, one other match I had was the Briscoes versus the Rock and Roll Express.
That would be a good one.
And then one other singles match that I could not figure how to work out was a Four Corners match that featured the greatest WWEF champion of all time, the greatest NWA champion of all time, the greatest WCW champion of all time, and the greatest indie wrestling star champion of all time.
Mm.
And I mean, I could get Flair, I could get Stone Cold Steve Austin, I could get Nick Bockwinkel. But when I thought about the greatest indie star of all time in the U.S., I'd have been CM Punk.
Mm. Ah, here we go.
So I couldn't figure that one out. I went to different versions. I had Hogan, I had Flair, I had everybody in it, and finally I just got pissed off at myself and just threw it out the window.
I mean, you just think, man, and that kind of got my brain turning. But I just thought of, while you were talking about that, I just thought of Harley Race versus Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
I mean,
I had Harley Race wrestling ever. I had a Harley Race Bruno match in there at one point.
Yeah.
The one that, not necessarily just to see the match, but to see the reaction of the people, would be the Midnight Express against the Young Bucks. What would Jim Cornette do with that racket with the Young Bucks flying around everywhere?
Well, I would hope that racket ended up on their heads, to be honest. That's you know. That's just my opinion, in which y'all already knew that, but you know.
Hey, the one guy that none of us ever mentioned, and he's really early in his career, I'd want to have a Future Stars match at some point. And I think the biggest future star in the world of wrestling right now is MJF. And I think about back in the 80s, who was the guy that was kind of the star that was coming. And just think of all the possibilities you had there with Barry Windham, with the future of pro wrestling. David Von Erich was built. Magnum TA was built. I thought at one point about taking all those guys that never got their chance with the NWA title.
Yeah.
TA, David Von Erich, and just putting them in a 4-way match.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the world of wrestling is different if the 80s aren't filled with all kinds of tragedies.
Boy, I know we've talked about many of them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And, good thing is nowadays is, there's a lot more attention to their health, to taking care of themselves. Yeah. I mean, you got people like Cornette griping about their, the moves that they do now. And I think that does lead to injuries and stuff, but they treat themselves so much better.
More attention in the arena.
From a nutritional standpoint, from a rest standpoint, I don't think you have as many people pulling Ric Flairs and drinking all night long and, and doing major drugs and things that really, really derailed a lot of the people that we love to watch, and ended their lives too soon. So I think they're a lot more healthy, health conscious and in better shape even. But yeah, it's nice to not have to talk about recent wrestling deaths. The only ones we're hearing about at this point are some of those folks that made it through all that and have been able to live in their 70s now or 60s and things like that. So
you think about it, Hogan, I know, is in kind of rough shape.
Mm-hmm.
Functioning. He's still out there going. Flair, still being Flair. Sting, 60 and still wrestling.
Yeah.
We're getting some longevity out of our heroes. So, and then you think about all those guys, even that died way too young.
Yeah. Well, bam, bam.
Good show tonight, Howie Chaney.
Jeremy, can I see that move again?
I got a video. I'll have to get a hold of it. That I was in rare form.
I was with about a blood alcohol level of about 0.12.
Nah. I was in good shape. I could do that. I can do that first thing in the morning when I get out of bed. Woo! When I lose my eyes open, I go, woo!
I do a wrestling move getting out of bed too. It's mankind's crawling out of the bullet.
Absolutely. The reality is that's more like it in the morning, coughing and hacking and trying to breathe. So,
all right, guys, moving on to hopefully next week. How about a top 5 most underrated wrestlers?
I like this. Howie.
Number 1, Rowdy Rock. Never mind. We'll wait till next week.
Would you really call him underrated?
Do what?
Would you really call him underrated?
General public, yes.
Well, but yeah, think about that. Like with Roddy, I think everybody agrees now that he's a legend. So I'm talking about guys that I'm gonna try to think about guys that did a lot of work and was in some good stuff, but they don't ever they're not considered legends. They're not talked about. So that's what I'm gonna look for. I may put I might put Dennis Stamp on my list. Did y'all watch that video? I see it. Did you watch it? Yeah. I don't know why that was so funny to me. I found that and it was Superman by 3 Doors Down, and it showed him, and it just owned me, man. I laughed uncontrollably. I'm like, I don't even know who this guy is, but it's freaking awesome.
I don't go back
funk on it at some point. So
what did he say in the beginning of it? I can't wrestle if he don't book me.
Booked. I ain't booked.
I normally don't go back and watch these, but I might just for that Jeremy move he did. Oh, goodness. So join us.
Hey,
Randy.
Terry Funk's on every one of my lists, so I'm going to have him on there no matter what.
Yeah, that's about right, Randall.
Yeah. So I just got 4 more to come up with, and I'll be done.
Yeah. Closing remarks, Jeremy. What you got?
Well, I can't help it if I look good, smell good, and can dance all night long. That's all I got to say.
Randy, your closing remarks.
Today was my first treatment of a medical condition. And if the next, 6 months goes like today did, this has really not been fun. So, sometimes you got to get better by making yourself so sick. So, and it's not, that sounds like I got cancer. It's not that. It's just, I weigh 335 pounds right now, but I'm telling this story to say I weighed in today. I have lost 5 pounds over the last month. So I'm very proud of that. So I weighed in. At one point, I weighed closer to 400 than I did 300. This week, I weighed in at 335. So I'm headed in the right direction, but it's tough. So take care of yourself. As we get older, I used to laugh at my parents when I said, as we get older, my dad would make those noises and huff and wheeze. And I'm 58 years old now. I took better care of myself. Because there's things falling apart that ain't meant to fall apart.
I'm beginning to understand that really well myself, Randall.
And we are in the very early stages of putting together some programming, some podcasts with Rocket City Wrestling. We have made an effort to try to get more indie based around here. And just us mentioning some stuff like that, I've had people reach out to us. So I think us as a show, we need to really get out and make an effort to find some local talent and bring them on here because
Yeah.
They watch and support us. Let's give them a little bit back.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I want to go to some local shows. We got some good, you mentioned Rocket City there, and then you got Deep South, I think. Or New House, Huntsville area. So
They come to Fort Payne a lot, but they haven't been in the last couple of years.
they are actually, I've got to look. I have to look on my feed. They are, they do some benefit events for schools and stuff. They're actually one at Rosalie, Alabama, that they're doing here soon. I think next month, and that's New South Championship Wrestling. And if I'm not mistaken, the current NWA World Women's Champion Kenzie Page was a pretty much a fixture for New South for when she first got her start and everything. So legit wrestling going on.
We've got our boy that was on here with us, the 12 gauge, who just went through an open heart surgery that is to get a little better. Has recently, KLT is now realigned as NAWA, and that's another one over in the Rome, North Georgia area that, hey, folks, some of these get 400 or 500 people out. So I really think you'll see some of that. Going to get our boy Jerry Anderson on here again. Jerry Leonard, who 15-year vet that wrestled all over. If you're an indie wrestler and you trip over us, contact us. We'd like to get you on here to hear your story sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
And talk buffet. Howie Chaney likes that. I like it. Jeremy's got somebody cook for him, so.
Oh boy, yeah. Look, all I'm gonna say is if that cooking and eating continues, I'm gonna be singing
the diet with me.
I'm gonna be singing the same song, Randall. I'm gonna be working on
program.
Working on my one-man gang impression.
Take us out of here.
Right. Great show tonight, guys. Enjoyed it. Join us next time when it's going to be the 5 most underrated wrestlers of all time. For Jeremy Johnson, for QB1 Randy Cunningham, I'm the Howie Chaney. Join us next time when you might hear Jeremy Johnson say,
"Buy Woo Energy."
A cheap plug for Woo Energy there.
No, don't buy Woo.
Good night. God bless.
This program is brought to you by Monster Energy. Monster Energy, fat guys all over America getting blood pressure.
Hey, no calorie drink,
yes.
by the way.
No calorie.
Yes.
Calorie. I will not hold up this one, but I will hold up that one.
Unbelievable.
We are only Coca-Cola drinkers. Good night. God bless. See you down the road.